extinct rebellion, you know, and what, that's finished now, I think, and they've just gone to...
They are still going.
I did meet them along the high street who were giving out leaflets and whatnot, you know, and I had a chat with them. And, you know, they're middle class, they're in their 50s and 60s, and they've got diplomas, they've got degrees, and I did say to them...
Well, you've got doctors, you've got priests, there's quite an array of people, you're right.
Yeah, but they're intelligent, but what they're doing isn't mindless, as Keir Starmer says. It's intentional criminal damage. You know, they're not stupid. And obviously, you know, they're upsetting a lot of people and making people hostile. There was one incident, they stopped a train. I think it was a few years back, an underground train, you know, and one of them, they stood on the top of the train, so it was like rush hour in the morning, and the general public right rage. One of the members of the public, you know, he pulled his legs from... He got hold of him, pulled his legs down and assaulted him. Because people want to go about their lives. They've got money, you know, an earning to living to earn. There's the blocking roads, guarantees, and, you know, people want to go to weddings, funerals, or people are dying, you know. People just can't get on with their lives. And if people agree...
Exit now.
Or just up, well, they should set up their own...
Turn left.
Party, say, Ashley say, for example, just
turn left.
Stop oil. So, but they wouldn't get the votes, would they?
It's all over now.
Well, and I think under the electoral system, it'd be very difficult. Look at how tricky it is for the Green Party to try and get votes.
Get on with it.
This is what I'm saying. Now, the Green Party is similar, but not so extreme. And they're not really getting any votes, are they? They might get maybe 2 or 3 seats, but they're not getting, you know...
But they'd argue that that's because people end up voting Labour because it's the lesser of two evils. But yeah, I do take your point. They're not exactly going to win the election, certainly based on current projections, are they?
No. But as I say, it's not going to make no difference what they do. You know, these other countries will not, you know... will not say, well, you know, we'll control the pollution.
But is that not to say... I mean, I take your point, Tony, but if you say, oh, well, China and India don't have... You know, they're the biggest polluters, then does that mean we just don't do anything?
Yeah, but, OK, if we did do anything, but so what? You know, they're the biggest...
Well, we're making a stand. And they would say, oh, people in China and India might see what's going on in the UK. Some of the young people there might feel... empowered. You've got to look after your own backyard first.
Well, yeah, maybe, but you know, I've met these Greenpeace people, these extinct rebellions.
Turn right.
They have the sort of cardboard of paper cups, these soaps and special things. You know, it's just trivial. But what they need to do, I do agree. I think it's just too late in the day. I mean, we're having extreme weather I've never really witnessed or seen before, you know, and, you know, I just think whatever they do now, I think the damage is done.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate the call. Tony there in Leytonstone. Ali in West Hampstead says, I love environmentalists. The real threat to societies is the government's ignoring the importance of climate issues. Plutocracy, chumocracy. Says Ali. Peter says the question should be, how do they get to and from these locations? You can't walk to Stonehenge or the area of Stansted Airport. I didn't realise that with Stonehenge, I assumed, perhaps naively, you could just go up to the stones, but you can't. You have to stand, I think it's like 50 yards back, and they allow only a select few archaeologists to actually go up to the stones every year to inspect them. It's like, you know, minimal number of people. You can count them on one hand. So I didn't realise you weren't allowed that near at all, and I mean, that does slightly irk me, because you've got these people who have gone all the way to Stonehenge. They'd love to be able to get near it, to touch it, I assume, to be sort of right by these particular stones, particularly with the solstice. Many of the Druids who use it as a place of worship to some extent. And they obviously can't, whilst a load of people from Just Stop Oil feel that they can. So I do get the outrage there, but as Samantha, the caller, was saying earlier, well, I'm afraid, you know, that's the price you have to pay to get climate issues in the media. This from Bill says, apologies, this from James says, they're pathetic. It's criminal damage. If I took a sledgehammer to Emma Thompson's car or house, she would not be okay with it. Plus, they are having an effect on all. Insurance costs will rise if companies have to pay out in a different area. Kevin says, burning fossil fuels creates acid rain that kills forest, pollutes the oceans, corrodes steel structures and stone like Stonehenge. I absolutely support Just Stop Oil. The powder paint they used will wash off in the rain like chalk. They were condemned for stopping the traffic harm they have done to the stones of Stonehenge. Yeah, I mean, you're right, it's not the same action as stopping traffic, is it? It's clearly different and clearly less disruptive. And Alan in Devon says, could I go and spray paint orange by the local wind turbine just to stop Just Stop Oil? Caroline says, these people are deplorable. What they are doing to landmarks, historic landmarks like Stonehenge, they think by doing something like that they're going to get peaceful, easy, loving-going people to approve. They're nothing but vandals. More of your views in a moment. Your view on Just Stop Oil after two pieces of significant action this week. Vandalising what they thought was Taylor Swift's private jet, but I think they got that wrong, someone else's private jet. And the cornflower over Stonehenge. Pretty harmless, I would argue, in both cases. Nonetheless, against the law, where do you stand? 0345 6060 973. 5:31 is the time. The news headlines with Lucinda Horsley.
It's being claimed a fourth Conservative is being looked into by the Gambling Commission over bets being placed on the timing of the general election. Reports suggest the party's chief data officer has taken a leave of absence. Ukraine says Russia has used guided bombs to attack an apartment building in the country's second largest city, killing 3 people. They're also claiming 52 were injured in Kharkiv on Saturday. The mother of the British teenager who's gone missing in Tenerife has issued a direct plea to her son. Debbie Duncan says she hasn't slept since 19-year-old Jay Slater disappeared on Monday. LBC weather, any cloud and rain clearing southeastwards during the day, leaving a mostly fine day for most areas, highs of 25 degrees.
This is LBC.
If you've ever dreamed of camping under the stars in Morocco, of hiking the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu, or tasting your way through Vietnam, then Intrepid has the trip for you. Travel with like-minded adventurers on a small group tour and be guided by locals who know all the best spots. Where will you go next? For over 1,000 trips to more than 100 countries, visit intrepidtravel.com. Intrepid. Good trips only.
If you've been injured in an accident at work, you could be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation. Talk to Harris Fowler today. For over 25 years, we've helped people who've been injured at work, in a warehouse, a factory, on site, or anywhere. With a 94% success rate, call the award-winning Harris Fowler now. 0800 213 214. It's no win, no fee, no risk. Harris Fowler, the personal injury solicitor.
Serious about the right vitamins for you and your family? Trust Vitabiotics, the UK's #1 vitamin company with 50 years experience and the only one to receive the Queen's Award for Innovation twice from Boots, pharmacies and Vitabiotics.com. For #1 verification, see Vitabiotics.com.
Listeners, we've uncovered the reason why Britain hasn't been so great of late. It's because the country hasn't been eating enough Weetabix. So to whoever's in charge of fixing potholes, to VAR and people who somehow managed to park over 2 bays, we must say, have you had your Weetabix?
Henry Riley on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
This comes in from Stephen on Twitter, who says Henry Riley is an absolute lefty siding with Just Stop Oil. If it was his house they targeted, then he wouldn't be so righteous. I've not supported them at all. I think I made that very point, Stephen. Graham in Bushy says maybe we should spray paint the protesters' houses with orange paint to see how they like it, especially when it costs them a fortune to remove it. Oh, the so righteous Emma Thompson and other so-called celebrities who fly around the world promoting their films and products whilst protesting to say how bad it is for the environment. At least they're standing up for something, though, Graham. You can't accuse them of that. Emma Thompson doesn't need to be in central London holding up a banner with Chris Packham. Does she? She could be doing plenty of other things. I take your point about being a hypocrite to some extent, but I think she's within her rights to do that. What do you think about the actions by Just Stop Oil? Keir Starmer says they're pathetic and they need to feel the full force of the law. Of course, there was this private jet stunt and there was this Stonehenge debacle, which I'm not quite sure where I stand on, because I like the idea that it's not inconveniencing people. I think that's really good. But equally, if the regular Joe public isn't allowed near Stonehenge, if I go there, I'm not allowed within 50 metres, I think it is, of Stonehenge, then why the hell should someone else who's just going to vandalise it, effectively? And I know it will wash off, I know that it's powder, for goodness sake, I get that.
Turn left.
I don't know, I find it tough, because there are plenty of people who would like to be, right by Stonehenge, who obviously don't have the chance. Philip, Bell will come to you in a second. Philip's in Christchurch. Morning, Philip.
Hello.
What do you think about Just Stop Oil?
Starmer is absolutely right.
Yeah.
These people deserve the book thrown at them. They show their ignorance by the fact they plastered all this orange stuff on the stones in Stonehenge. And there was this rare lichen that's been there for thousands of years. And they damaged it. They just show their utter ignorance by doing that.
What they would say, though, Philip, is they would say, what's more important, the earth or rare lichen?
Well, they are just showing their utter ignorance and how stupid they really are. And this actress, Emma Thompson... I believe she travels from Los Angeles to attend these events.
Yeah.
And travels by private jet, I believe.
Yeah, good on her.
And belching out loads of fumes.
Right.
And at the same time, is telling other people not to burn oil. I mean, that smacks of utter hypocrisy, doesn't it?
I mean, many people would argue that, but do you not make the point that she's taking time out of her busy schedule to go and protest about something she's passionate?
Yeah, but it's a case of do as I say, not do as I do, isn't it? It's a case. She's not practicing what she preaches, is she?
Well, yeah, I think critics would say that. What do you make of the argument, though, Philip, that they're not blocking roads anymore, so they're not inconveniencing as many people as they were before?
Get ready to turn left.
Blocking ambulances is outrageous.
Yeah, but
people are dying because of it.
But they're not doing that now. That's the point. They're attacking private jets and Stonehenge.
Well,
turn left.
They're not attacking Emma Thompson's private jet, are they? I mean, she could quite easily
got the wrong one.
Via Zoom, couldn't she? You can communicate around the world via computer these days. You don't have to be there physically in person, do you?
It was a protest, wasn't it? She couldn't have been on a protest on Zoom, could she?
Well, she could support them via Zoom, couldn't she? Oh. She don't have to be there in person.
Yeah. OK, no, fair point. Thank you very much, Philip. Oh, go on. You were going to say something else? Oh, no. Oh, God. Goodness me, Philip there, hanging up. I think he thought I was... This says, Emma Thompson travelled from Scotland, where she lives, from Deborah in Greenock. Belle's in Madrid. Morning, Belle.
Good morning.
What do you think?
Well, I'm going to give you an example. I live in Madrid, and Madrid is known to be very warm, especially in June, July.
Yeah.
And
lovely part of the world.
Warm. Yes, it is. But it's not as warm as it used to, and the weather gets very crazy lately. And I know probably what those people are doing is not seen as something good.
Yes.
But they're just trying to direct people's attention to climate change. And what I wrote in my text, I think is true. Most politicians won't get to experience climate change because it's supposed to happen between 2026 and 2042. I don't think they will get to experience the dramatic changes. Young people are very worried about that.
And do you have similar groups in Spain, Belle?
Not really.
No.
Not
so
really.
Would you like to see?
I wish we did. I wish we had something similar, but people here are not really paying attention to climate change, I'm afraid. I used to live in the UK, and I think people in the UK care more about these things than here in Spain, I'm afraid.
Right. Okay. So you'd like to see perhaps a similar group?
Yeah.
Draw attention to it?
Yes, at least I would love to see more participation in the government. People here, no, they do not really care.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't think they see it as something important. Well, in Spain, people are known to love parties and stuff like that. There are people who care, but not so much as in the UK, because we don't get to see the bad thing of the weather yet, because we'll still get warmer days. In the UK, I think with the flooding and with the rain, you get to experience the changes more drastically than here in Spain. But I think in the future we are going to regret it.
Oh, that's depressing, isn't it? Yeah. So you would like to see... I mean, I have interest. How come you're listening to LBC? Do you come to the UK much? I'm curious.
I used to live in the UK, in London, in Brixton.
Take the second exit.
Because of Brexit, I decided to come to Spain because life is a little bit cheaper here. And I've been living here for 5 years.
Very nice. Well, thank you very much,
Exit
Belle.
now.
Lovely to hear from you. Belle there in Madrid. This comes in from Caroline, who says, these people are deplorable, what they're doing to historic landmarks like Stonehenge. Diane says, the only thing I was annoyed about was when it stopped emergencies and put life at risk. This is definitely not turning me off. No, it's actually making me start to think more, says Diane in Northern Ireland. Rachel Jane in Chippenham says, climate change is a tricky subject, which I am sure we all agree on, but how come nobody is asking these protesters... But how come nobody is asking how these protesters live their lives or get around daily? Well, I think to be fair, I know Nick Ferrari and a few others presenters have asked them that question. Leo in Surrey says, what a joke we give these pathetic Just Stop Oil lawbreakers the time of day. If they really had any bottle, they'd go to China and demonstrate. Then let us know how you get on. Until then, just stop. Nicola says, if you go down the bottom of the stones by Stonehenge, there's a gap in the fence which used to get people in for free. They probably use that route. Oh, God, don't tell too many people about that. Ali in West Hampstead says Stonehenge will last longer than humans. And Wendy says this week's protesters are not calling attention to climate change, just to themselves. While Chris says, I've already voted for Mr. Starmer. I do understand why he would say Just Stop Oil protesters should feel the full force of the law. I'd rather he said Just Stop Oil will feel the full force of the government working with them on the environment. And Zach says, how on earth did the Just Stop Oil protesters actually breach the Stonehenge cordon and get across to the monument when the rest of us can't get up to them? I don't get it. Well, I think they just simply ran across it, and then there were tourists who, of course, took them on. Harry's in Portsmouth. Morning, Harry. What do you make of the actions from Just Stop Oil?
Yes, hello. Good morning, Henry.
Morning.
I'm not... obviously, the Druids at Stonehenge are very miffed about someone using their site on very nearly their so-called sacred day, the 21st of June.
Yeah, it was the day before.
Yeah, day before. Well, I think they've done it on one of the earlier months or later months. But Stansted, a few years ago, 2 or 3 years back, they invaded Stansted before. And unfortunately, the soft judge at the time, I don't think they went to the Supreme Court, but basically, it was, a year or so after they'd done the deed, they were in court, and of course they had the smart lawyers working for them, because if you had a lawyer, you'd be able to afford those lawyers. And they basically got off. They didn't get anything basically. But
would you want to see these people in jail?
Well, no, I don't know. The Stansted Airport, I think, secure areas like that, these people, are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Demonstrate somewhere else, your back garden or a field somewhere, or even by the roadside, not blocking the road. But the thing is, when they when you've got people, getting into secure areas, that's really, in the long run, a threat to national security.
I do think there's a good point there. You're right. When it is an area like that, you do wonder how on earth. I mean, but I think that says more about the security measures at Stansted Airport in this case, rather than the protesters, doesn't it?
We'll build a wall, and we know what happens. They'll just get the long ladder and climb over the wall with a long ladder. They're Stansted.
But hold on, Harry. There must be like CCTV at Stansted, for goodness' sake. You can't just break in through a fence, which seemingly you can, but you'd imagine there'd be better security than that, wouldn't you?
But I know we're all security mad, and people got these Ring doorbells. Someone across the road from me, I keep hearing theirs. We
get ready to
banging
turn
on
right
all the time because they haven't altered the volume. But we shouldn't have to be, concentrating on massive security because randomly, on one or 2 days a year, it's possible that randomly someone might turn up. It should be treated as a sacrosanct place from the beginning. And of course, Starmer, when he says he's going to sort of take a dim view of this, when they had the riots in 2011, the politicians do nod at the judges, and the judges do cooperate with them. And those people who were involved in those riots in 2011 did get stiffer sentences they weren't expecting, the ones they caught, of course. But Starmer, when he gets in, if the judges won't satisfy him, he'll change the law, because if they keep invading places like Stansted, it'll be ridiculous. And also, they promised to disrupt the airport during the summer period. Make a lot of people very, very angry.
It will indeed, particularly those trying to go on holiday and I imagine have some well-deserved rest time. Thank you very much, Harry. Harry there in Portsmouth. Ian in Crawley says these stupid stunts do nothing, just annoy the very people who support their needs, disrupting traffic, stopping people getting to work and appointments, causing damage to art, holding up sporting events will never gain sympathy with the masses. The perpetrators of these stunts should be made to pay for their disruption and the damage caused by their actions. Robert says all Just Stop Oil are doing is appealing to the people that already support them, which is a small minority. Everyone else can't stand what they're doing, and rightly so. While John says, I can't believe all these environmentalists, Just Stop Oil hypocrites are all car-free and don't have central heating boilers, mobile phones and all other day-to-day necessities that require oil to manufacture. But I don't think it makes them necessarily a hypocrite if they have... I mean, you have to have a lot of that stuff to live. They're just making the point that we need to speed up the process, surely. 0345 6060 973 is the number to call. Last chance to get your views in on the thorny issue of Just Stop Oil. Do you want them to just stop, or do you think they need to be listened to? It's 5:47.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. It's been a truly momentous week as the two men vying to be Prime Minister turned to LBC to address your concerns. First up, it was Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer.
Would you be happy to serve in the Cabinet under Prime Minister Corbyn?
Well, I didn't think we'd win either of those, Graham, and there's no getting away from that. And certainly...
just a simple yes or no.
24 hours later, it was the turn of the Prime Minister.
In 2010, there were 35 feed banks, and today it stands at nearly 1,200.
How have we got to this situation?
I want to get the number down.
As we enter the last full week of campaigning, join me, Nick Ferrari, Monday morning from 7, when we'll have news on another exclusive on the issues that matter to you. Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Vauxhall, the new electric van range designed to energise Britain.
LBC.
If you've been injured in an accident at work, you could be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation. Talk to Harris Fowler today. For over 25 years, we've helped people who've been injured at work, in a warehouse, a factory, on site, or anywhere. With a 94% success rate, call the award-winning Harris Fowler now. 0800 213 214. It's no win, no fee, no risk. Harris Fowler, the personal injury solicitor.
Listeners, we interrupt the airways to share an incredible discovery. The reason why Britain hasn't been so great of late is because the country hasn't been eating enough Weetabix. We must get to work in rebuilding Great Britain, Bix by Bix, by delivering Weetabix to whoever's in charge of fixing potholes, to VAR, and people who somehow manage to park over 2 bays. To Britain, we must say, have you had your Weetabix?
Being part of a winning team makes all the difference. And when your team's packed with professionals with years of experience, you know you'll get great results. Whatever your business, when you need a parcel delivery partner, get mailboxes, etc. on site. We'll defend your item with expert packing, keep it covered against damage, and dispatch it with world-class carriers. Search mailboxes, etc. and choose the strongest team. Wow, what a delivery!
Henry Riley on LBC. Text 84850.
Lots of messages coming in. Andrew says they're self-indulgent, Henry. They're doing it to make themselves feel better. It's no coincidence that so many of the protesters are retired or well off. Are you seriously saying they taught you something about climate change that you didn't already know? As for Emma Thompson's taking time off of her busy schedule, come off it. The pollution caused by her jetting around the world bears no comparison to the average person's annual holiday in Spain or somewhere. The UK has barely 1% of global emissions, and we already have some of the toughest targets and restrictions anywhere, says Andrew in Wimbledon. Laura says we've killed the world with climate change. The poor and undeveloped countries are more concerned with staying alive than stamping on their footprints. The UK is 2% of climate change. It's never going to work. There are too many poor people and lots of rich, like Sunak, who travel by plane and have diesel cars for security. Lewis in Essex says, why don't they just target petrol stations? That's at least related to their cause, not Stonehenge. And this one says, prison is good for these, is too good for these idiots. How many of these clowns have travelled the world in their gap year? Start by taking their passport away, says Brian in Cambridge. And then Glyn says, under the Aviation Security Acts, the illegal entry to an airport and damaging an aircraft can carry life imprisonment. But the likes of Starmer, who criticise them, would be front of the queue to defend them. I have sympathy with the fact that they are not disrupting people's everyday lives. But I do come back to the point, and I made this the other night, they're not inconveniencing people who are going about their everyday travel, like blocking off roads and the like. I appreciate that. But how on earth does throwing paint over Stonehenge actually contribute to having a discussion about climate change? You can say, oh, well, you're discussing it now. We're discussing Just Stop Oil and whether they should be allowed to do this. I don't think it genuinely contributes to discussing the actual issue of climate change. I just don't think it does. And likewise with private jets at Stansted Airport. Again, we're discussing how on earth these guys got in, as opposed to whether climate change should be higher up the news agenda. Just quickly, this was Dame Emma Thompson speaking yesterday at the march. She was speaking with Sky News.
It's extraordinary when you think about the fact that we have known about all of these problems for decades, and we've had government after government that have completely ignored the advice, rising steadily the panic in the voices of the IPCC, the International Panel on Climate Change, all scientists saying we are in deep, deep trouble. But I think that today, one of the most important things for us to remember is that we are one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world. We are also one of the most rich. So this is just not good for anybody. We all need our natural world. We based our culture, Shakespeare, everyone who's ever written about our country, it's all been about the beauty of these islands, and they are being despoiled, polluted and destroyed at an unprecedented rate, and we have to take action now. And there is not enough discussion about this. It has to come to the forefront of our politics on every level. Restore nature now. This is our country, our commons. You know, we need it to survive.
With an orchestra as well, by the sound of it. A man in the background with a very nice voice. Laura's in Bristol. Morning, Laura. What do you think?
Well, I think, let's look at the bigger picture here. Are protesters being jailed for protesting? Are we losing our right to protest?
Well, not many of them are going to jail, no.
Well, that's the thing. They get criminal records. They get community service. They get penalised for protesting. Are we losing our right to protest? Everyone's against them and says they should be punished.
There's a difference between protesting and breaking the law, isn't there? Dame Emma Thompson was standing with a placard in central London. She didn't get arrested, whereas breaking into Stansted Airport's very different, isn't it?
It is very different, yeah, but it is getting the conversation talked about. And the thing is, it's irrelevant in England. Climate change is irrelevant in England. We don't make enough of a carbon footprint to stop the world dying.
The problem is, if everyone had that attitude, Laura, then we wouldn't do anything at all. I mean, if all of the countries that are 1% said, "Oh well, it doesn't affect us," then that's probably about 25, 30%.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But the politicians are funded by oil companies.
No,
you know,
not all of them, no. I mean, probably a few have links, but I don't think it's that many.
I think it's quite prevalent, especially in the Tory party. I think Rishi Sunak's associated with an oil firm through his father-in-law. I think that, you know, we need to look at the bigger picture here. Is protesting being made illegal?
No.
No.
So, what are you saying? Do you think it is, or you?
I think it is. I think everyone's against protesters. I don't know how many people are arrested at the march for that Emma Thompson went on.
No one.
No one.
No.
And were there people anti against them? Was there a march against it?
I don't think so. But the point is, they're very different, aren't they? Breaking into Stansted Airport and dousing Stonehenge with cornflower.
But that's just a minor inconvenience for some people. The cornflower, the rain will come off. You know, that's a minor inconvenience. It's not affecting everyone's day-to-day lives.
Mm. So what, you'd like to see these protesters given more rights to sort of demonstrate their feelings, you would?
Definitely, yeah. Definitely.
OK, thank you very much. Appreciate the call. Laura, who's a new caller in Bristol. David's in Southampton. What do you think, David?
Well, I mean,
get ready to turn
is your
right.
previous caller prepared to live in a cage? You know, I mean, you know, our lives are based on fossil fuel, nuclear fuel. That's the way the world is. That's the way the world works. Emma Stone, these protesters, Emma Stone? What's her name?
Emma Thompson.
I mean, Emma Thompson. Yeah, her wealth is based on fossil fuel, based on all the audiences that get their money. Yeah, I mean, that's the way the world is. You know, it's not. Climate change is exaggerated anyway. I mean, the weather changes all the time. You know, these people are eco-zealots. They're misguided. They don't really know.
But David, they're talking about new oil and gas licences, aren't they? They would say they're saying we don't want to get rid of existing ones at the moment. This is part of phasing out of net zero.
We need to keep. You know, we need to play. We need to get new fuel to fuel the world. I mean, that's the way the world is. But, you know, they're just misguided. And, you know, like they say, you've got these rich, retired people who you know, they just become eco-zealots. But they've made their money off fossil fuel. They're just hypocrites. You know, how did they make their money?
Would you like to see the law bear down harder on them, as Keir Starmer, you know, saying it's pathetic, you know, they should feel the full force?
Well, if it starts to really get out of hand, because see, these people could start to become terrorists, basically. You know, they're going to start to do more and more stupid things, and you know, it's going to become more destructive. More people are going to die from these idiots. Someone's going to die in these stunts they're carrying out. But, you know, you're going to have these eco-zealots. They just don't think what they're doing.
OK, thank you very much, David. David there in Southampton. I don't think anyone's sort of going to die based on the action we saw at Stonehenge or Stansted Airport. But look, I do take your point that, of course, some protesters do try and push the boundaries. Andrew says the Just Stop Oil activists get away with their disruptive acts because they're largely white, middle class and educated, so they're benefiting. Boz says, I may not like what they're doing or agree with them, but they aren't wrong. We aren't doing enough, and we're being let down by our government regarding climate change. Robert in Mitcham says, perhaps Just Stop Oil should look at the appalling waste of energy making glass bottles. Glass bottles are single-use and smashed at the recycling centre. And this one from Phil says, our carbon level emission is artificially low as a direct result of having transferred much of the manufacturing to China, which increases their carbon emissions proportionally. Thank you very much for all of your calls, texts and tweets on that. Going to move on. Last hour of the show, nearly 40% of young people do not plan to vote at a general election. This particular survey that's been carried out says that a quarter of 18 to 34-year-olds say they haven't even registered to vote less than 2 weeks before the country goes to the polls. Of course, the deadline has now finished. It's now closed. Are you one of these people who is suffering from voter apathy? There's quite the choice this time around. You've got everyone from Farage, Starmer, Rishi, George Galloway even. What can the parties offer you, if anything, to persuade you to vote if you're still apathetic?
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 6 o'clock, it's understood a fourth top Conservative official is facing claims he placed bets on the timing of the general election. At least 4 other people, including 2 Tory candidates, are under investigation by the Gambling Commission. LBC's Tom Harrigan has the latest.
Nick Mason is the latest Tory to face claims they bet on when the election would happen before the date was announced. 2 of the party's election candidates, the Conservatives' director of campaigning and a police officer, were already being investigated by the Gambling Commission. Rishi Sunak previously said he was incredibly angry about the allegations and threatened to expel anyone if it was proven they'd broken any rules.
The Conservative Party hasn't yet commented. The Israeli military says its forces violated protocol by strapping a wounded Palestinian man to the front of their vehicle. It happened during a raid in the occupied West Bank. The video, which has been verified, shows events in the city of Jenin last night, with Israel saying shots had been exchanged. Health officials say some doctors are afraid to blow the whistle over patient safety concerns for fear of retribution. The British Medical Association says almost half of medics surveyed feel their managers discourage them speaking up. There's a warning of increased pressures on our healthcare services next week, with a yellow heat health alert due to come in. It's expected to reach 30 degrees in areas of central and southern England. Parts of the US are also being warned they could see more record-breaking heat this weekend. Environmental commentator Professor Christian Dunn has told LBC a new approach is needed to deal with climate change.
We should be looking at this in a pragmatic way, and also in a way that is to look at all the advantages. Who wants rubbish quality water in our rivers? Who wants dirty air? Who wants to have no green spaces? Of course we should all want those, and those are the advantages of doing something about the environment and about the climate.
And Scotland can make history if they beat Hungary in their Euros game later. A win should be enough to send them through to the knockout stages of a major tournament for the first time. They've got 1 point from 2 games so far. LBC weather, any cloud and rain will clear southeastwards this morning. Mostly dry and warm in southern and central England. Highs of 25 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Lucinda Horsley.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Henry Riley.
Good morning, 3 minutes after 6 is the time. You're listening to Henry Riley here on LBC, with you for early breakfast. Matthew Wright taking over the reins at 7 o'clock for your weekend breakfast. Hope you're finding you well this morning. If you're waking up after Taylor Swift concert last night, I seem to be the only person who isn't going to Taylor Swift. Everyone's there. Even Prince William went, didn't he? And well, I was going to say danced. That's one way you can describe it. He certainly looked like he was enjoying himself, and I see there's pictures of the Prince of Wales on many of the front pages, getting a selfie with Taylor Swift as well. So there we go. I'm sure he had a lovely time. Thank you very much for all your calls, texts and tweets on Just Stop Oil. We're going to move on this hour and talk about voter apathy. Extraordinary that 40%, nearly 40% of young people do not plan on voting at all in the general election. This is a poll that has come out, that has been reported in the paper, in the HuffPost, that reveals a quarter of 18 to 34-year-olds say they haven't even registered to vote less than 2 weeks before the country goes to the polls. The findings have now led to fears that the main political parties are failing to do enough to engage with young people. According to the poll, just 57% of 18 to 34-year-olds say that they are registered and will actually bother to vote on July the 4th. And when you compare that number with the older generation, or the slightly older generation here, 35 to 64, 80% of those people say they plan to vote. So clearly there is a bit of a disparity when it comes to the younger generation, the 18 to 34-year-old generation, compared with those who are slightly older. 17% of young people, 1/7, say that they are registered but will not vote. 22% say they're not registered and have no plans to do so. And of course, you can't register anymore because the deadline has passed. It was last week. And actually, if you look at the deadline, a load of people did register on, what is it in football terms, deadline day. They filled in their form and did it on the Gov website and ended up voting. So maybe this will change, but I do wonder if you are one of these people who is apathetic, if you are of the view that voting doesn't change anything, that they're all the same. I see Bill texted in earlier saying he agrees with George Galloway when Mr. Galloway uses this sort of frequently used line that they are all the same, that they are two... Here we go, this is from Bill. Not surprised many won't vote. Agree with George Galloway. They're two cheeks of the same backside. All of the main three-party leaders indoctrinated at Oxford. That's his Bill. So I wonder, are you one of these people who simply is not going to bother to vote on July the 4th? Why not? What are the main sort of reasons? Are you suffering from voter apathy? I mean, you can't complain that there's not an array of people to vote for. You've got everyone from George Galloway to Nigel Farage, from Keir Starmer to Rishi Sunak, from Ed Davey to Carla Denyer from the Greens. There are loads of different... And those are just the sort of...
And then exit right.
The parties, the bigger parties. There are, of course, even smaller parties than George Galloway's party that are standing. I mean, there's a whole host of people you can vote for. So why on earth would you not want to vote? Tell me why you are struggling to find anyone to vote for. What can the parties do, if anything, to persuade you to vote for them? Is it because you are not enthused by any of their policies? Is it because you are scarred by how you voted in the past? Is it because, I don't know, post-Brexit, post the Tory government, post the new Labour government, you just simply don't see the point in voting anymore? Tell me why. Is there anything they can do to persuade you to get out and either fill your postal vote form in or head out to the local church or community centre on July the 4th and put an X in a box? No matter who you vote for, doesn't matter who you vote for. This hour, we're just talking about whether you will vote at all. Are you in this category of 40% of young people who say they just simply don't plan to vote in the general election? Now, often when you hear this described, there is the whole argument about Australia, isn't there? Compulsory voting if you're in that part of the world. I don't know. Do you think that would help? Would that force you to get more engaged in politics? If you are voting, would you quite like to see people fined if they can't be bothered to go out to the polling station? Of course, you can go and spoil your ballot. I've never really seen the point in that. All it means is when they announce the winner, the returning officer, which is the fancy word for the person who actually reads out the result, just says, and there were 15 spoiled ballots. So if you write, I don't know, Bill Gates and something about vaccines or whatever the hell you write on it, no one knows. What one person who's counting the vote knows. And all you do is you get a very quick reference. So I've never really understood the point of spoiling your ballot, but I suppose it's probably marginally better than actually registering, than failing to register at all. So tell me this hour, are you planning to vote? Are you planning to abstain? Maybe you're one of these people who's suffering from voter apathy. What can the parties do to try and persuade you to head out in the rain or the sunshine, whatever weather it's going to be, a week on Thursday, and go and vote? And why do you suppose, even if you are voting, maybe you speak to friends and family, to neighbours who are telling you that they simply aren't going to go out and vote? Why is that? What are the reasons they're telling you? And how do you try and persuade some of your friends and family to go out and vote? But try and explain this to me, if you will. Why are 40%, seemingly, according to this poll, of young people saying that they simply will not vote at the next general election? 0345 6060 973 is the number to call. You can WhatsApp us on the same number. Text 84850. Ask Alexa to send a comment to LBC, or tweet me at LBC or at Henry Riley1. What can the parties do, if anything, to persuade you to vote? And are you suffering from voter apathy? 0345 6060 973 is the number to call. Josh is on the line in Liverpool. Morning, Josh. Are you going to be voting?
No.
Ah, why is that?
Go straight. I live in Liverpool, and it's a traditionally Labour city.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, and as I said to the producer, Liverpool since the 70s has always been opposed to the Tories, and because of that, Labour being the opposition to them, I think that's why Liverpool's always voted with them.
How old are you, Josh? Are you in this younger age category?
Go straight.
I'm 29.
Yeah, so you do fall into that. Have you voted before?
I think once, and that's quite ironic because my mum took me to get it all sorted and said, you vote Labour. That's just what people do around here. And she said, you just vote Labour.
And so are you not voting because you don't want to be forced to vote Labour, seemingly?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's down to traditional voters, because people traditionally vote for that blindly, regardless of policy. That's why, I don't vote, because as you said rightly, your vote won't make a difference, and it's not like you question it because of how brainless the people who are traditionally voting are.
But I mean, did you not, when it was the Brexit referendum, which clearly a lot of people had strong views on either way, did you not feel compelled to go and vote in that?
I did vote in the Brexit thing.
Oh, you did vote in that? Right.
That wasn't for political parties, as you remember, but I was concerned that it was a 50-50 split, and I thought that if it did go through, it might divide the country. And I did my research, and that remaining was a much, much better economic outcome than leaving.
But why don't you... I mean, you said you did your research for that. Even if... I mean, if people like you don't vote, then why wouldn't you want to just at least demonstrate what you believe in at the ballot box? I don't understand.
Well, it's the first-past-the-post political system.
You see, if it was proportional representation, you'd be more likely to vote?
Yeah, I actually explained this to my friends, that if every single constituency voted independent, that it would make Parliament, they would never agree on anything, and it would prove a point and the system would collapse.
But is that a reason not to vote? I mean, there's a whole host of people, obviously, on offer where you are and across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Do you not think if you don't vote, you haven't got a right to complain?
Not necessarily. I mean, I've done my research on the Labour policies as well, and the way I deduced it was from experience. I had a good life up to 15 years old, even though my parents had difficulties getting work, and it was pretty supportive from Labour. And then as soon as I was 15, everything it just got worse, so much worse. So it is a reason to vote Labour, but based on policy, some things I don't agree with every party, in fairness. And,
I mean, a lot of people in your position, Josh, will sort of protest vote instead, so you've never been tempted to vote for one of the sort of smaller, in quotation marks, parties to make that point. Because again, if you're saying you want PR, there's plenty of parties that are promising that. Everyone from Nigel Farage as Reform to Ed Davies, Lib Dems are saying they want PR.
I mean, to that regard, I would say that I don't agree with the person, because Ed Davies is very theatrical, and
that's one way of putting it. Yeah.
I don't agree with the showmanship. It's they're meant to rely on political policy, not kind of I would say theatrics.
So what? So you think he's not serious enough? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, I remember an age where politics was boring, and I think it's still meant to be boring. You know, it's supposed to be, you know, functioning and, well, yeah, just functioning.
Yeah. OK, no, fair points there, Josh. Thank you very much. Josh there in Liverpool getting us started. Josh has, like, you know, done his research with the EU referendum and the general election. I still don't understand why you wouldn't vote. I do take his point, and look, we are in a country where you're not forced to go out and vote. You don't have to. You can make up your own mind, do your own research, and we're not in a place like Australia yet. You're not compelled to vote, but I do still find it slightly puzzling. But thank you, Josh. Are you like Josh? Are you suffering from voter apathy? What do you make when you hear people like Josh who say they're simply not going to vote? 0345 6060 973 is the number to call. It's 6:15.
This is LBC.
You know what it's like when you're watching a show on your tablet, see an amazing dog-shaped lamp and think, I need that. Well, with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 series, you're in luck. Because Circle to Search with Google will help you find it. What do you think, Rex?
Incredible AI. Now on more Galaxy devices than ever. Claim £200 cash back across the Galaxy Tab S9 series. Purchased by 2nd of July from participating retailers. Claim from Samsung.com within 45 days of purchase. T's and C's apply.
From Gold Bank London, the safe and sound way to buy gold. Part 1. Security.
It's imperative your gold is of the highest grade and securely stored for the future. The gold refined by Gold Bank comes with fine scan technology, ensuring our highest authenticity and traceability. It is kept safe to a world-class Grade 5 security standard.
Gold Bank London, kept safe
for your future
and sound
with solid guidance.
Visit goldbank.co.uk.
Getting away this summer? At Tesco Mobile, join the 1.4 million customers who roamed with no fees in the EU last year. Get our 100 gig SIM for just £16 a month with Club Card prices. And we'll also give you an extra £30 worth of Club Card points. Now you can catch Rays while you catch up on the group chat. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Ends 14th of July. Club Card and 24-month credit agreement required. No EU roaming fees until 2025. Value issued at 3,000 Club Card points. Terms at tescomobile.com/terms.
Being part of a winning team makes all the difference. And when your team's packed with professionals with years of experience, you know you'll get great results. Whatever your business, when you need a parcel delivery partner, get mailboxes, etc. on site. We'll defend your item with expert packing, keep it covered against damage, and dispatch it with world-class carriers. Search mailboxes, etc. and choose the strongest team.
Keep right.
What a delivery.
When Andre sold his car on finance with Motorway, he
Turn
got more
right.
money. Ooh! He then put that extra money into tickets to follow his team around the country. Come on, Nats! Selling on Motorway was completely stress-free, which is more than I can say about being a supporter of... Sell your car the more money way, where 84% of sellers sold for more. Motorway. Validated against 2 independent sources. Visit motorway.co.uk/claims.
This is LBC with Henry Riley. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Are you in the 40% of young people who are saying they simply will not vote at the next election? Maybe you're not even in the category of 18 to 34. Maybe you are someone who's apathetic generally. Tell me why you're not going to vote this election. And if you
Keep
are...
left and then turn left.
How do you react when you hear people like Josh who say simply they're not going to go out and vote? They're simply not going to. I find it quite disheartening, but then again, I genuinely don't think I want to be in a position where we force people to go out and vote. I don't necessarily think that's the right place to be in. Giles says, young voter apathy is the best news the Conservatives could hear. It's not a done deal, even though it appears in the media that it is. If you want to change your vote, apathy's for the status quo. This from Jeff says, morning Henry, what's really worrying is that the two major parties, the Conservatives and Labour, will only account for around 60% of the votes according to recent polls. Yeah, we did a story about that recently, where more and more people are choosing not to side with the two main parties. David Darby says we should make it compulsory to vote because if people don't vote, then they have no say, their vote should automatically go to the party that's already in power. Really? I don't know about that. This from Leo says, I'm far from young. I've never failed to vote in the past. However, I will not be voting at these elections, simply because I have nobody to vote for. I no longer have any trust in politicians. I won't be going to the polls, only to spoil my card. That, in my book, means I have the right to moan in the future, as I've voted not to vote. Which I suppose, yeah, you're right, you have signed up at least. Bill's in Croydon. Morning, Bill. What do you think?
I have absolutely no intention of voting. I did consider spoiling the ballot. I thought I can't even bother to do that.
Why?
Why? I'm 76 years old. I've been watching the world go by. I've lived in it. I've been in it. Generally, they are in their own little group. All of them, including Croydon Council and various things.
Well, let's not get involved.
They're all in a little group.
Right.
They're looking after themselves. They're running around like lunatics now, trying to get back in again because they're on the gravy train. They just don't want to get off of the gravy train. Even if you've got somebody that really wants to do something,
go straight.
They're pressurised by the other people to fall in line. They don't want to get off of the gravy train. Most of them have absolutely no idea what normal people live through. They have no idea that you haven't got enough money to put a coin to get a gas or electricity. When I was a child...
But hold on, you can't say that about all of the political parties.
No, I'm talking about all of parliamentarians, all of the parties. They're on the gravy train. That's all they want, the money to be looked after. No matter who they are, they're all the same.
But how are they all the same?
Are people that want to help.
But Bill, how are they all the same? How can you look at Nigel Farage and Keir Starmer and go, God, yeah, they're exactly the same, those two? Or George Galloway and Rishi Sunak? Or, need I go on?
Well, they're not in it to do good for the country, for the people.
But there's hundreds of people standing for election up and down the country. You're saying they're all not good?
No. I'm not saying they're all not good. What I'm saying is, even the people that really want to make a difference, they're outnumbered by the people that want to look after themselves.
But how does not voting help that?
Well, all I do is, anything I ever hear on the radio I just ignore it. I'll walk away and I'll get by like everyone else has to, because you don't have a choice.
OK, thank you very much, Bill. Bill there in Croydon, who, again, is not voting. I find it quite dispiriting hearing all these people who are saying they're not voting. We'll come to more of your views on that in just a moment. Let's head to France, though. I'm joined by Peter Allen, LBC's correspondent there, joining us from Paris, because I want to get an update on what is happening with the French election. Emmanuel Macron saw Rishi Sunak and went, I'll have a bit of that, please. I'll call a snap election as well. Peter, what are the polls looking like at the moment? Because we had those recent European elections where the hard right seemed to do pretty well.
Absolutely, Henry. Morning. Yes,
Morning.
It's a week today that the French will go to the polls for the first round of a two-round election. It was 2 weeks ago, as you say, that the Rassemblement National, that's the far-right party over here, used to be called the Front National, and it's best associated with the Le Pen family, Marine Le Pen. The nominal lead at the moment is Jordan Bardella, who's 28 years old, but it's still very much almost a Le Pen dynastic party. They are leading the polls at the moment. They are on 32% of the vote share, around that, followed by a Popular Front on 29%. This Popular Front is made up of lots of leftist parties, communists, socialists, France Unbowed, which is the biggest left-wing party at the moment, and their specific aim is to stop the National Rally. So it's very much sort of a protracted election in which there are two big blocs who are trying to win and trying to stop each other coming to power, which leaves Emmanuel Macron's Renaissance coalition
again, changed his name. That's changed its name as well. Was En Marche.
It changes all the time. It used to be called En Marche, which is EM, Emmanuel Macron's initials. So it's very much a voting bloc which is devoted to one thing, which is keeping Emmanuel Macron in power. That's why it changed its name. It's not massively important. For example, like you might have a Socialist Party or Conservative Party or whatever. It's very much a voting bloc designed to keep Emmanuel Macron in power. But they're faltering at the moment, and it looks like the National Rally is heading for the biggest vote share, but that doesn't mean it's going to get a majority in the French Parliament, which is going to cause all kinds of chaos if no particular party or any particular coalition doesn't have a majority. It's all going to be very chaotic.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because Jordan Bardella, who, again, from the National Rally Party, as you referenced, Marine Le Pen's party, he said he won't be Prime Minister unless they win an absolute majority. Why is that?
Because he hasn't got a chance, Henry. One person is able to appoint a Prime Minister. I'm saying he hasn't got a chance, he doesn't get a majority, sorry. I must clarify that.
Yeah.
One person is allowed to appoint a Prime Minister in this country, and his name is Emmanuel Macron. He is the head of state. He's easily the most powerful political figure in the country, and he will continue to be the most powerful political figure in the country, no matter what the results in... it will be 2 weeks' time now, of course, because it will be after the second round of voting. But Emmanuel Macron has indicated, according to convention, what happens if one particular party does get a majority, then he will appoint that person Prime Minister. That is called cohabitation. That means that you have a president belonging to one party, believing in one thing, and a Prime Minister belonging to another party and believing in something else. But at the moment, it doesn't look likely that this party, the National Rally, it's only got 88 MPs at the moment. It needs to turn that into 288 MPs plus one, 289 MPs. That doesn't look very likely at the moment. It looks perhaps like at about 220. So that's the answer to your question, Henry. Jordan Bardella cannot really become Prime Minister unless he's got an absolute majority, and at the moment it's not really heading for that.
I noticed my Twitter feed yesterday was full of Francois Hollande, the former French president, downing a pint of beer. He's back this election.
Well, that's extraordinary, actually, because he was president of the Republic again. President of the Republic of France is one of the most powerful executive positions on earth. He was a competent president. He spent 5 years in power up until 2017. He introduced Emmanuel Macron to government. Emmanuel Macron was just a civil servant who was appointed finance minister to Francois Hollande. So he's got a relatively good reputation in the country, but he feels that he's still relatively young. He's in his late 60s, and he still wants to play a part in public life. Most importantly, from his point of view, he wants to keep the National Rally out of power. So he thinks that if he stands as an MP, that will be a good chance of forming part of this bloc, which is called the New Popular Front. So that's what he's doing. It's almost a symbolic thing. Right. And I have to say, quite interesting, Emmanuel Macron is saying that he will not put a Renaissance party candidate up against Francois Hollande in his constituency in the Corrèze. That's very significant. That shows the government is supporting Francois Hollande.
Why is that? I mean, I know Macron served as a minister, didn't he, under Hollande?
Well, absolutely. He served as a minister. They fell out at the end, obviously, because Emmanuel Macron ended up saying, look, I want to be president and not a socialist president. But he's effectively saying, Emmanuel Macron, that we respect Francois Hollande as a nice fella, a former president of the Republic, and somebody who can help us lock out the National Rally. It's as simple as that. Lots of horse trading going on. Emmanuel Macron's very, very realistic. He knows he's not going to produce a majority of his own, and so he's saying, yes, somebody who's not on our side might win this constituency, but at least it's not the National Rally. That's where we're at the moment.
Lastly, Peter, I was reading about the sort of hard right, as you mentioned, Marine Le Pen's party. I mean, obviously Eric Zemmour has his own party as well, the French TV presenter, who's very much seen as on the right as well. And is there a bit of tension between those two parties? Because weirdly, Eric Zemmour's party has the support of Marine Le Pen's niece.
Yes, it's all
so confusing.
It's very, very confusing. The whole thing's very confusing. But to sum it up very simply, reconquest is extremely hard right. Some people get angry if you talk about the National Rally being hard right now. I know that's the case in Britain. If you say that Marine Le Pen belongs to a hard right party, they think, well, actually, she's got a pretty straightforward right-wing party. I can tell you that reconquest, Eric Zemmour's party, is extremely right-wing to the extent that he has been convicted of racism, he has been convicted of Islamophobia, he comes out with really outrageous comments about things. Marion Maréchal, who is the niece of Marine Le Pen, she joined Reconquest, and up until just a few days ago, she herself was coming out with lots of extremely right-wing views, including racist, including Islamophobic ones. Her grandfather, Jean-Marie Le Pen, who founded the whole lot, they're all called Le Pens. Marion Maréchal is actually Le Pen. Her real name is Marion Maréchal Le Pen, but she wanted to be her own woman, so she dropped the Le Pen. But if I told you Jean-Marie Le Pen is a convicted racist, is a convicted Holocaust denier, they try and keep him quiet now. He's 95 years old. But I think what's happening is Marion is going back to the fold, to the family fold. Why? Because she wants power. She wants to think that Jordan Bardella might be forming a government in a few weeks' time. Still possible. I say it's unlikely, but it's still possible. And that's why she's going back. So it's all politics, Henry. In the end, it's all politics. They're prepared over here to drop particular parties. She's dropped Zemmour now. He's furious about her. He's expelled her from the Reconquest Party, which is quite amusing. So it's an extraordinary situation, fascinating election. And I know we'll be talking certainly next week and the week after that.
Thank you very much, Peter. Peter Allen, LBC's correspondent in France, joining us from Paris. You're right. I think I sense we'll talk more, Peter, in the coming days and weeks as that French election obviously draws ever closer. So confusing as well. I mean, I thought British politics was hard to keep up with. There's so many different parties in France. They all seem to come and go. It's like a revolving door. More of your calls on voter apathy in a moment. 40% of young people saying they don't plan to vote in the election. Why is that? 0345 6060 973. But at 6:31, your news headlines are with Lucinda Horsley.
A fourth top Conservative official is facing claims he placed bets on the timing of the general election. The party's chief data officer, Nick Mason, has reportedly taken a leave of absence while he's investigated by the Gambling Commission. The Israeli military says its forces violated protocol by strapping a wounded Palestinian man to the front of their vehicle. A video which has been verified shows it happened during a raid in the occupied West Bank. The mum of Jay Slater says she hasn't slept since her 19-year-old son went missing in Tenerife. A search to find the teenager is now entering its 7th day. LBC weather: cloud lingering across parts of Wales and the Midlands. Dry and warm with plenty of sunshine in southern England. Highs of 25 degrees.
This is LBC.
Being part of a winning team makes all the difference. And when your team's packed with professionals with years of experience, you know you'll get great results. Whatever your business, when you need a parcel delivery partner, get mailboxes, etc. on site. We'll defend your item with expert packing, keep it covered against damage, and dispatch it with world-class carriers. Search mailboxes, etc. and choose the strongest team. Wow, what a delivery!
Listeners, we've uncovered the reason why Britain hasn't been so great of late. It's because the country hasn't been eating enough Weetabix. So to whoever's in charge of fixing potholes, to VAR and people who somehow managed to park over 2 bays, we must say, have you had your Weetabix?
Worried about how you're going to pay your mortgage? You're not alone. That's why your mortgage lender is ready to offer you support. And everyone can contact their lender for help. All you have to do is reach out. The sooner you get in touch with them, the better. Reach out to your lender by visiting their website today. Reaching out won't affect your credit score.
You know what it's like when you're scrolling the gram, see a delicious looking big treat and think, what is that? Well, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5 can help, because Circle to Search with Google will help you find it. Oh, it's a tropical mango cruffin. Tasty.
Incredible AI. Now on more Galaxy devices than ever. Buy a Galaxy Z Fold 5 today to claim £200 cash back. Purchased by 2nd of July from participating retailers. Claim from Samsung.com within 45 days of purchase. T's and C's apply.
Thanks to a blend of petrol and electric, fill up less this summer with the Mazda 2 Hybrid. The ultra-efficient Mazda 2 Hybrid is available to finance for £229 per month with 0% APR representative. To go further for less this summer, search Mazda 2 Hybrid. Mazda Financial Services, PCP over 48 months, deposit of 3924, optional final payment of 10328. Indemnities may be required.
Henry Riley on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
You're listening to Henry Riley here on LBC. 25 to 7 is the time. Just a bit of breaking news from Manchester Airport. Severe disruption after a power cut. The airport have put out a statement in the last few minutes saying Manchester Airport was affected by a major power cut in the early hours of this morning. This has caused widespread disruption, and a significant number of flights, particularly from Terminals 1 and 2, are expected to be cancelled or delayed. Passengers due to travel from those terminals are advised to contact their airlines, also saying that they apologise for any inconvenience caused as a result. So that is severe disruption that is happening at Manchester Airport at the moment. Back to your calls on whether you will vote, whether you're one of these people who's apathetic. Before we do, by the way, Sunday with Lewis Goodall coming up at 10 o'clock. He'll be joined by the Home Secretary, James Cleverly, the First Minister of Scotland, John Swinney, as well as the senior Conservative, Sir Robert Buckland, and Labour's Bridget Phillipson. Terry's in Bushy. Terry, are you one of these people who's apathetic, not going to bother to vote?
Not at all, and I find the attitude of those previous callers, it's cowardly. They need to go off here. You know, people have died for the right to vote. Various regimes, various women, or, for the working class. And, the meaning of courage is, no matter if you're facing overwhelming adversity, you don't give up. They might not agree with the system, but you don't not vote. That is just cowardly. I don't know where they're getting the lack of motivation from. Don't give their heads a wobble.
Would you really want people to be forced to vote, though, Terry?
No, not forced to vote. Obviously, that's a moot point,
Yeah.
But, not voting is just playing up to the system, to be fair. You live in a country which has got a major history. You're born into a place where you've got liberal rights, and you don't vote. It's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Maybe what people like you guys in the media should do is actually campaign and motivate people to use their vote. All right, the two-party system is slightly broken. I'm a believer in proportional representation.
Yeah.
And it's not happening at the moment. So vote for a party that believes in PR. It's just one issue, but do
yeah, and that's the point.
It's not like you vote every day. It's once every 5 years.
Well, that's the point. Well, I was trying to make that point to Josh earlier on, the first caller we had on in this hour, who said he wasn't going to vote at all. What would be your message, Terry, if you speak to friends and family who say, I'm not going to bother voting? How would you try and persuade them?
I'll say not voting is making it worse. Go and have some conviction, make a decision, and make a commitment. You might find going to the ballot box partly cathartic. It's a good experience.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you don't, the longest journey starts with the smallest step. I'll end on that.
No, lovely point. Thank you very much, Terry. Terry there in Bushy. Michael's in Deal. Michael, are you one of these people who will not vote?
Oh, no, I shouldn't be voting.
Why?
Well, I'm in the bracket of I'm 58 now, and the shift to the right in all politics is quite disturbing. I'm quite a left-wing chap. I'm a socialist, in fact. And I would have voted for the first time in many years for the Labour Party. Unfortunately, it's what Sarah said on the Nick Ferrari show about Gaza and the excuses that he gave about allowing the Israelis to commit the war crimes that they are committing in order for them to defend themselves. And he actually said that they can never be taken back, and you can just look back in your own archives to see what he said. And I just now can't vote, and it's not a vote.
It's important to say he did try and clarify it, Michael, just to just to make that clear.
He said, do you want me to quote what he said?
But Michael, I was there. I was standing opposite him when he said those exact comments to Nick Ferrari. He absolutely did say it, 100%. But he did also try and clarify it afterwards, just to make that point.
Yeah, fine. So that you're allowed to kill innocent civilians.
He said cutting off power and water. But anyway, let's not... But my point is, though, if you are left-wing, as you say you are, Michael, why... I mean, and you're worried about the shift to the right, then why wouldn't you vote for a left-wing party?
There aren't any.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to tell you to vote for, but what about the Greens or another party on the left?
Like a wasted vote.
But if you don't vote for them, then it's never...
They don't offer anything at all. I don't believe in the actual model of democracy that we've got. I've known the representative democracy is not a good thing. They're not representing my needs, they're representing their needs. One of your callers said, we've got this announced in the Grand Town. Because look at this week. There's a party that's in power. They're top
Keep
people
left
betting.
And then continue straight.
How greedy can you get? I mean, what are these people? We've got no idea what normal, functioning people need. People are worried about, like the man said, putting a coin in the lecky meter. There are children, right, who are presenting themselves at hospitals with rickets. Yeah, the National Health Service is... Because I'm not a very well man, and I have to use the National Health Service.
Yeah.
And I see it, and I hear it. I'm actually in the hospital 2-3 times a month, for various things and various checks. I mean, the other day, I had to get an eye operation. It's just an injection in my eyes because I've got macular degeneration.
Right.
I couldn't go because they didn't have any doctors. They couldn't get a doctor in.
But does that not motivate you to want to vote, Michael?
For who?
For a party that's probably going to put more money in, if that's your experience.
But they're not going to get any money to do it. The system is completely and utterly destroyed and broken.
But you're clearly very engaged, Michael. Look, listening to LBC, you're citing what Keir Starmer said. Do you not think you have no right to complain then if things start to go wrong?
I'll complain till the cows come home.
Well, you have a chance to change it.
There's the way that the system is, there is no change.
Of course there is.
If you look back, right, and you'll see what Hattersley said in the 1980s, about the entire system, Just do a bit of research and have a look for yourself and what he said about how the system works. It's already pre-decided what's happening. Everything is already in place.
In what way?
Yeah.
Well, this election's already decided, is it?
Basically, yes. Basically, the media program us. They program us. Some of your shows on LBC are absolutely fantastic. You're one of the guys I really like listening to, You're an intelligent young fella, and you know your stuff, right? And you engage in people. But there are other people, I'm not going to name them, who are very... No, I won't. Some of your people, you've got left. They got literally, here's the door, go. Because they were too right-wing. And some of them are really extremists. And you have regularly, the cards are shuffled with the LBC rota, and it's only the perennial favourites that stay. One of my favourites is Mr. O'Brien.
Yeah.
Now, I tend to agree with a lot of things that he says.
But I think he'd say similar to me, Michael, about not voting.
Yes, but that you've got every right to vote. I've got every right not to.
No, of course you do. And I wouldn't want to be in a position where people were forced to vote. But I do just think you're experiencing the NHS on a daily basis. I do find, and look, you say it doesn't make a difference because of PR, and that's a very fair point, but that's never going to change if, the two main parties don't believe in PR, right? So I don't see that ever changing unless you get more people in Parliament. Like Nigel Farage, I appreciate he's probably not the person you'll vote for, bearing in mind you described yourself as left-wing, but he also believes in PR. And the Green Party and the Lib Dems, and there's a few MPs as well. Michael, really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you. Michael in Deal. Annette's in Bromsgrove. Morning, Annette.
Morning, Henry. I share your concerns about people not voting. Not the last call, the caller before. It'd be difficult to top what he said. We're a democracy. Surely, if you don't vote, we'll lose our democracy. If nobody voted, It'd be like Russia, wouldn't we? Where there's just like one party.
Well, that is the worry, isn't it? And it's very precious, the right to vote. I don't need to tell you that. You know, we all know that. What do you say when friends and family tell you, Annette, oh, it doesn't make any difference, I'm not going to vote?
I just say, please vote. It's a bit strange, but I say, doesn't matter who you vote for, because I know who I'm voting for, I won't say, but...
you can say all you like, it's up to you.
For, just, oh, can I? It's just please vote. Doesn't matter who you vote for, that's my thing. You know, I mean, I've been pleading with people at work, rather than just like... I'm quite happy to say who I'm voting for, but I don't tell other people, so just please vote. Please vote, just think about it, yeah?
I mean, they're within their rights not to, though. Would you agree? If people really don't want to, they should be forced to?
They are, but I agree. What are the reasons for not voting? I haven't heard one good reason not to vote. Because you're not... I mean, you know, I'm not pushing my views onto people, but I'm saying just please vote.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. Annette, thank you very much. Annette there in Bromsgrove pleading with people to go out and vote. We'll come to more of your calls on that in just a moment. Plus, we'll speak to Simon Calder, the travel correspondent at The Independent, for the very latest on what I mentioned earlier. Manchester Airport, severe disruption, cancellations, delayed flights. We'll get the very latest from Simon Calder just after this. It's 6:45. You're listening to Henry Riley here on LBC. More of your calls next.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Matthew Wright.
As another high-profile Tory is named in the election betting scandal, is this shaping up to be Partygate 2, another betrayal of voter trust, as Michael Gove claims?
Matthew Wright on LBC.
Hey, Harry.
Hello, mate.
Got any tips for the football?
Do I ever? Your best bet is to head out to Bet Victor. They're giving new customers massive odds of 100 to 1 for England to bring it home.
100 to 1?
100 to 1.
Have you got your glasses on? You sure it's 100 to 1?
Yes, I'm sure.
Listen to Harry and make your best bet with England to bring it home 100 to 1 at Bet Victor. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus gambleware.org. Maximum bet £1. Minimum deposit £5. Winnings paid in free bets. Offer ends 3 p.m. on the 1st of July 2024.
Granny and Grandpa had their hearts set on getting Jess a drum kit for her birthday. And because they bought it on their Barclay card, they were rewarded too. It was music to their ears. Same can't be said for Mum and Dad. What you buy is your business. Rewarding you is ours. Search Barclay Card to find out more about our range of rewards cards. Barclay Card. Make money work for you. 28.9% APR representative variable. Subject to application, financial circumstances and borrowing history. Right. T's and C's apply.
It's 2024. We can use robots to clean our flats. Order Kung Pao chicken with our watches.
Turn right.
And, hey, play my tune.
Playing your playlist.
And now there's a better way to do energy. With OVO's energy savings account Beyond, you could save cash today and bank greener rewards for tomorrow. Now that's a first. Search OVO Beyond. Discounts include bill savings by using energy at greener times. Smart meter required. For terms and eligibility, search OVO Beyond.
You could be our next Win Plus winner. Enter now to win big cash prizes and loads more at winplus.co.uk. 18 plus, GB only, T's and C's apply.
Mum, what are you looking at?
Nothing.
Keep left.
Looking at that man,
then
aren't
turn
you?
left.
I might be.
Oh, he's a sort.
And he's Italian.
How can you tell?
Turn left.
His Italian newspaper.
Get you, eagle eye.
See every detail, no matter how small. Get 25% off hundreds of the latest designer sunglasses. Visit Boots Opticians today and see what's possible. Offer ends 16th of July 2024. Left. Includes prescription and non-prescription sunglasses. Excludes Boots brand range. T's and C's apply.
Why am I leaving a gift in my will to Cancer Research UK? After my wife Pam died from bowel cancer, I did everything to contribute to today's research, and now I can help fund the discoveries of tomorrow. Whilst Pam never met her grandchildren, leaving a legacy means that even when I'm not here, I can make a difference to their lives.
Gifts in Wills fund a third of our work helping us develop life-changing cancer research. Visit cruk.org/gifts in Wills. Together we are beating cancer.
This is LBC with Henry Riley.
Turn right.
0345 6060 973, the number to call, talking about voter apathy at the moment. This says from Stephen, Henry Classic, trying to persuade people to vote Conservative. I mean, I'd like you to point me to where I actually said that or even implied that. I've got people calling me left-wing as well, so there we go. But a bit of both. Ed in Queen's Park says, I'm not surprised that 40% of people between 18 and 32 do not intend to vote. These people think more about what their country can do for them than what they can do for their country. And in my opinion, their opinion is worth less, says Ed in Queen's Park. This one says, the reason why youngsters don't vote is because they can't be bothered. I think it's shameful. And this one from Paul says, young people should be very grateful they have the right to vote. I think it's absolutely shameful. I'm in my 50s. I've voted at every single election. And I think people should just realise quite how lucky they are to be able to do it. And lastly, Bev in Orpington says, I've got 3 children, 30, 33 and 34. I don't think they even know there's a general election taking place. They don't watch TV. They don't listen to the radio. They don't read the newspapers. They don't seem interested at all. This 30th generation have no interest in politics. We'll come back to your calls on that in just a moment. I want to speak now to Simon Calder, who's travel correspondent at The Independent, as you well know, familiar voice here on LBC. Simon, great to have you with us. Thank you. I know there is this, significant disruption that's taking place at Manchester Airport. What do we know?
Well, unfortunately, it's looking pretty bleak for tens of thousands of passengers today. You would expect around 100,000 people to be flying in and out of the UK's third biggest airport today. Unfortunately, there was a power cut in the early hours of this morning. As a result of that, the systems are in extreme disarray. Manchester has 3